what Party People is about the revolutionary movements of the 60s in this country, specifically the Black Panther Party and the Puerto Rican Lords. It's there have been the Universes has spent about a year now conducting interviews all across the country with former members and current members of these organizations. And Universe is this incredible theater company that they are gifted musicians, singers, dancers, and they use jazz, blues, hip hop in their and movement in their performances. And they will take these interviews, take the parts of the history that speaks to them, and create a performance piece out of this. And we have about 3 to 4 workshops over the next year before we go into rehearsal at OSF, as we develop the research and develop these interviews and the writing and the music into a cohesive piece. And the cast right now is about 12 people, and yeah, it's a big story, so you need a big company. And we are at the beginning of the process, and it should be, I think, probably one of the more exciting projects I've worked on, because the subject matter for me is extremely relevant and also personally exciting. I'm originally from South Africa, and I grew up during apartheid, and there were many activists in my life as a child, and so the themes in this on this topic are very resonant for me then and now. The way that Universes and I think will work over the next few workshops is, for me, when I work on new plays, the dramaturgical part, which is the play development part, is really about encouraging the writers to get closer and closer to their truth, the thing that they initially were drawn to on the topic, the elements that they found personally exciting in the early stages when they're starting to think about it, to continue to ask them the questions, to push them to find their truth as well as the story's truth. So, that just means, looking at the material, pushing them to develop story, to develop characters, relationships, and then their own relationships to story, character, and relationships, so that the final product is as rigorous and as personal as it can possibly be. So, the way I look at my job in the next months is really to just make sure that they are being as brave as they can be as they tackle this material as artists and as people, because that's as artists, that's what we have to do, is we have to always look to make sure that we're finding all the truth in ourselves and in the material. I think one of the most moving things about the process so far has been the content of the interviews, because these people, the Black Panthers and the Young Lords, the Puerto Rican Lords, have really been incredibly generous. They've opened their hearts and their intellects and their history to us, and they've shared things that were, surprising and moving and revolutionary, and still so relevant today. And you really get the feeling that these were great minds, and we're so fortunate that they shared their stories with us. And I think the challenge and the burden is to honor their stories, to make a really wonderful piece of theater that affects the audience the way we were affected when people shared their experiences. So that's a tremendous challenge, and a bit of a burden, because you do want to respect as well as honor memories of people living and who have passed. And so that's something that we have to think about, and then at the same time kind of lay aside, so that you can kind of venture bravely forth.